A man was helping a woman stretch. He asks if he could hold her leg and she says yes, but just then, the woman's husband arrives. The woman gets desperate and then they start acting strange. She asks what the man was doing there, and he says he came to get some papers, but that he thought that class was already over. The woman says yes and that all they were doing was stretching her legs and the man was helping her with that. The husband then greets the man with a handshake and asks how he is doing. The man says he was fine, but he seemed to be distressed. The husband then says that his wife was weird and asks what had happened to her. She then tells her husband that the class she had taken was very difficult and that her body was hurting because of it. The husband then tells them that he needs to go back to his work and that he wouldn't disrupt the class anymore and then leaves, but as he was leaving, he looks at the camera that was there. When the husband leaves, the woman immediately attacks the man, but the man tells her to wait. He says he thought her husband was suspicious of them, but the woman says that was impossible because all her husband thought about was his work and so they kiss. He then hangs up the phone and looks at the footage from the cameras and sees what was going on. He sees that his wife was kissing the man and this makes him furious. Outside, the husband calls his helper and tells him that he needed him to get attention to the office as soon as possible. Later, the woman goes to the man's office and asks why she was called there. He says he was preparing some documents for them and that he needed her to sign the documents. She agrees to sign the documents and then begins to sign them. When she finishes, she tells her husband that she loved him very much and that she needed to leave to get ready. They then say goodbye and the woman leaves. Sometime later, the man opens his wife's purse and pulls out some bills from inside. At that moment, the woman arrives and greets her husband. She then said that she had made an appointment with her friend and that she needed to meet her at the mall. The man says that she had already met with her friend earlier, but she says that her friend needed to talk to her and then leaves. As she goes, the man calls her helper, asks if everything was ready. The man made it to his mother-in-law that he had prepared that dinner for them to celebrate the 3 years of marriage he was doing with his wife. He said that it was a very special date and that he had prepared something to celebrate, which makes his wife very happy. He begins by saying that I was so thankful to have spent those 3 years by her side, as she had taught him what the word trust really meant. He said that he could trust a person in the same way that he can trust his wife. It was something very beautiful and that he was very grateful for that opportunity. At that moment, he says that to thank her for everything she had done and he decided to make a video to show how much she loved him and asks everyone to watch the video that would be shown on television. At that moment, the man tries to enter the house, but a police officer stops him. He asks what was going on there. The officer says he could no longer enter that house. The man said he worked at that residence, but the officer said he no longer worked there. Then he says he didn't understand what was happening, but the policeman said he knew exactly why and closed the gate. He then picks up his phone in despair and calls the woman. When she realizes it was the man calling, she pretends she hadn't seen the call. Her husband then asks what had happened and tells her to answer the phone, but she said she wouldn't answer as they were having a family time. Hearing those words, the woman gets very excited and says that that gesture was very beautiful and thanks the man. They then start waiting for the video to start playing on the television, and when the video starts playing, it was a video of the woman kissing the man. She's surprised by that and tells a lie in that video. He tells his mother-in-law that this was proof that his wife was cheating on her with the yoga teacher in her own home. He said it proved that he couldn't trust his wife anymore. The mother-in-law then asks why her daughter did it, but the woman says that it was her husband's lie and that he had set it up against her. He then tells his wife that she must be crazy in thinking that after everything she had done to him, everything would go back to normal and they would go back to living happily together. He said that he had put that camera on so that I could see if what he thought was really true, but that unfortunately it was true. The woman then says that the man is crazy for putting up a camera to watch her. The man then asks his wife how she had the courage to do that to him, because he always did everything for her to have a great life with him, but even so, she cheated on him inside her own home. He then tells his wife's family that he was sorry to have put them through this. He said he had one more request to make for him. He said he wanted them to get that woman out of his house. The woman then says that they were married and that she would not leave without her things, but the man said that the papers he signed were for her to no longer have any rights to his money. She is surprised to hear this and asks what the man was talking about. He then reveals to her that she no longer had a claim on anything he had. He says she had no right to his house in the middle of the car, nor to the money he owned. She is furious about it and asks how he had the nerve to do that to her.